My name's Chris, but we have Mr. Orlando Haynes with us today for Finding Your Career Brand. And we'd like to give a book shout out before we hand things over to him. This is a book that he has co-authored with some other fine individuals. It's called Mastering Your Career Journey, and you can find it in our catalog at hcplc.org/books, and it is available for checkout and curbside pickup at this time. So if you'd like to check it out, go online, reserve your copy, and pick one up very soon. And now I have the distinct honor of introducing our host today, Orlando Haynes. He is a career coach and just a fine, outstanding individual. And we're very, very pleased to have him here today to share his knowledge and tips. And I am going to now hand over screen control to Orlando here.
All right, everybody, I appreciate it. Thank you so much again, Chris, and to the Hillsborough County Public Library Cooperative for allowing me to come speak to you fine folks. Although I can't see you, you can see me. And I believe this is slated for 30 minutes, so I'll try to get through everything as quick as possible. And I love 30-minute presentations. I think those are the best ones sometimes, depending on what the topic is. And tonight's topic is finding your career brand. So let me get to my screen. All right, everybody. So again, thank you for tuning in. You could be doing anything this evening, but for those of you who have joined us, I definitely appreciate it. And I hope the content is well worth your time. Okay. So a little bit about me. As Chris mentioned earlier, I'm Orlando Haynes. I'm a talent acquisition manager for a company called Sykes. We're a global BPO company. I'm also an author, as Chris mentioned, a speaker, career growth coach, etc. And most recently, a LinkedIn Live content creator, which I'm super excited about. That is somewhat, I wouldn't say so much of an elite group, but there are a few of us across the entire platform who has access to this to be able to put out as much content around whatever their specialty is, and mine is definitely focused on career development. So I'm super excited about that, to where every week I can bring you new content and tools, tips, and techniques around career development in a variety of topics around career development. Okay. So also 17 years in corporate America, split between talent acquisition and staffing recruiting, which are two different things. And I can go into that at another time, but that's crucial to understand that I used to staff for organizations, but now I work strictly for one, while all I do is focus on the company I work for, which is Sykes. There below are 3 books that I've written. The first one is Inside Career Tips for All Job Seekers Should Know. And that book is primarily for kind of entry-level folks who are getting started to kind of understand the fundamental basics about how to job search, how to network, how to connect with recruiters, what to do in job fairs, etc. So a good starter book to get folks kind of prepared and how to prepare for even driving to an interview and what to think about and things like that. Since this is pre-COVID, but some of the still basic fundamentals still apply. That model hasn't changed. The second book, Mastering Your Career Journey, that Chris mentioned, is a collaborative book with other recruiters, certified resume writers, that we all came together. It's about 11 of us that came together, and we shared our advice on a host of about 12 questions or so. And we all gave our different perspective, anything from how to change careers, completely industry and function, how do you find an opportunity from out of state, how do you network, and a host of other things that we kind of poured into there. That was well over 50 years of experience poured into that book, so super excited about that as well. And the last one is a play on words. It's The Humans Behind the Resource. That is a book that I published. I didn't write that, but I gathered 5 other phenomenal HR practitioner ladies throughout Florida and other states who came together and gave their perspective on the current state and potentially future state of what HR looks like now. A lot of these women are entrepreneurs in their own right, multi-authored individuals who run their own businesses. So that is also a great book for any HR practitioners out there who are trying to learn and understand kind of the ins and outs and behind the scenes of HR. Some of the stuff that us as HR partners or the everyday employee may not even consider. It may not think where HR plays a key role in the organization. All right, so let's get started. That was too much about me. All right, so what we're here for tonight is, of course, is something I always want to talk about and bring up is this quote from Jeff Bezos, understanding your brand, right? A lot of folks kind of model it after the Coca-Colas and Johnson & Johnsons, and we think logo, brand colors, things of that, the aesthetics of it, which is partly true, but this is one of the best quotes I've ever seen as you reading it or heard anyone ever say. You're right, your brand is what people say after you have left the room. Now, if you let that sink in, that is a powerful, powerful quote. He's not talking about colors and how does the font look for a logo or anything like that, right? He's talking about you, the individual. That truly is your brand, and trying to find that is so crucial, especially now with this current pandemic. And I truly believe, I hope everyone is safe, that now more than ever, you have to find your brand and really put it out there if your goal is to either go to the next level in your career or find a new career if you've been displaced. So hopefully this content again makes sense to you. And I'll be here for questions, anything like that. And you can always contact me afterwards on LinkedIn. So just like the quote, you are your brand. You have to understand that. You have to let that sink into your mind. It's brand image, right? These are 4 pillars when it comes to your brand. Brand image, brand mission, brand values, and your brand vision, right? So what is your brand image? It's really about how do you show up? How are you showing up to work? How are you showing up in your home? How are you showing up in your community? How are you showing up if you're a part of a church or any nonprofit organization? How do you show up, and how do those folks perceive you as you show up, right? What is your mission, your brand mission? Personal story, my mission is greater than the brand, right? I believe if you have a mission or a purpose that is greater than, just any kind of monetary gain or materialistic gain, like a new house, a new car, then you will strive even more to develop that, to reach that goal. And then your brand, for those folks who understand the power of branding from a business standpoint, or even an individual standpoint, it lives beyond, right? It outlives you, basically. Think of the Mandelas of the world and Gandhis of the world, the Mother Teresas of the world, right? None of these folks were, quote unquote, rich necessarily from a financial standpoint, but their brand was so big because their mission was so big that it lived beyond them. And no, I'm not saying that you need to go out and save the world or anything like that, but those are just a few of examples of what a mission and how your brand can impact the world, right? And I always like to think big. I hear this a lot in my own church, and my bishop is like, think big, stop thinking small, think big, right? Your brand values. What do you stand for? What do you hold close? What are your ethics, right? What are your relationships like? What is something that is non-negotiable with your brand? Those are things you need to figure out and find out, right? What is the core inside you that says, this is what it is, I'm not changing it for anything or anyone, right? Then the vision. The vision supports all of this, but it also supports the mission. The vision is, how do I get and what keeps me going each day, each week, each month, each year? You have to set the vision. The Bible says, write the vision and make it plain. You need to know the steps you're going to take in order to achieve your mission, in order to hold your core values, your brand values together. And this way, you know once you've done what you've done to a certain level, your image of what your brand is stand on its own. It precedes you, right? So those are the things that I want you to focus on as we talk about what does it mean really to find your brand. And then ask yourself, these questions here. What do you like to do? Right? What do you love to do? And then what are you passionate about? Right? Because there's some folks confuse sometimes love and passion of the same, which in times it's not. It's really not. So starting with the first one, if whatever you like to do, right? You may like to go bowling, right? But you don't love bowling enough to go buy a bowling ball, a custom bowling ball, get your own bowling shoes, the jersey, and necessarily join a league, right? But you like to do it every once in a while when we can get back to that if it's open out and do those things, right? Now we'll switch to what do you love to do? Some folks love food. They love to eat, right? They love to try new cuisines. But the thing is, you may not love it enough to go out and learn and go get a certified chef or become a chef from Cordon Bleu or somewhere and get these culinary skills so you can make these unique dishes for yourself. But you love going out to restaurants and trying new things. So therefore, you're not really passionate about that as much as you are. But what the key is finding out what you're passionate about, right? Your passion will help you drive towards your purpose when it comes to developing and finding your brand. Your passion will wake you up before the alarm clock rings at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., right? Your passion will have your mind racing every day to be creative as possible on how to focus on what are the next steps that I can take to accomplish developing and finding my brand so I can have purpose, right? Because your brand is not just this, fly by thing. Your brand really does give you purpose. Like for a personal testimony of mine is that how I got access to LinkedIn Live because I've been in talent acquisition so long that I truly have a passion for wanting to train and coach and develop individuals to have more career success in their life. And this platform, when I got access, was phenomenal. So now it's given me a broader platform on LinkedIn, which is 650 million users. Well, weekly, I can share my voice and interview folks, experts within various fields to give content to these job seekers. That is an absolute passion of mine that I will not stop doing, right? I will not give that up because it's part of who I am and what my core value is as a professional to train and develop people. Absolutely love it. Because the goal is to, as you see in the right corner, you want to develop a brand that will have you stick out above the rest. You want to be that orange balloon that rises above the competition as we're in this market, in this pandemic market, and as jobs that are still out there. But again, the competition has gotten a bit greater. So you have got to develop and find that brand as best as possible, as quickly as possible, so you can start to elevate yourself amongst the rest. And here are 3 ways that I always share with folks when this question is posed to me to finding your brand. It's definitely, I'm sure some of you have already done this, taking personality assessments, but it's not just taking the assessment and just, okay, I've taken it just for sake because it was an employer who said, hey guys, let's kind of find out if we're a red, if we're yellow, if we're green, if we're an eagle, if we're a Tweety bird, if we're a fox, whatever the different segments are, depending on the assessments you take. It's really about analyzing that data and extracting that data and knowing how to apply it to your life, right? The good and the bad. If it's something that wow, this is an epiphany for me that analytically I'm not that sharp, but I find myself in opportunities that require me to upscale my knowledge in the analytics and learning the numbers, right? And if you know that's a crucial piece, then you need to really focus on it, right? I took a recent assessment, I would say just about even 2 months ago, and I found out something about myself that I knew, but then there was something else that was an aha moment for me. You're saying that it said all the good stuff, right? You're a visionary, you take risk. And I was like, yeah, that's me all the way. Egos getting bloated. But then it also said that, which I thought was crucial, it said, you prefer less talk and more action. And a lot of us know if you've worked in, if you worked and been on conference calls and been in meetings, I can't stand long meetings. I do it with my team every morning at 8:30. In 30 minutes, we're done. If it goes on, I get antsy. I'm like, this is not this is not something I need. I don't need an hour and a half, 2 hour meetings. It doesn't work for me. And a lot of people are like that. But what it also said, it was like a sub point underneath. It said, which it did say that, yeah, less talk, more action. And it's something that I noticed in my personal life, not just in my professional life. But one time I came home to one of my daughters, and I have 5 daughters, and one of my youngest daughters came to me, and I said exactly what it said on the assessment. I was like, sweetheart, okay, you're talking too much. Tell me exactly what you need to do so we can get it done. And I was like, oh man, wow, that was like very few assessments you take are completely spot on, but this one was 100% spot on, and it allowed me now to pull those all that data and analyze it for myself and see, okay, this is where I'm strong, this is where I'm weak, this is where I need to partner, this is where I need to delegate. So it enhanced my brand that much more. I got better in areas where I thought I was doing okay, but it forced me to work more. And also ask your family, ask your network. All right, always get an outside perspective of what that looks like. Because again, you may think you're a rock star in certain areas, and then when it comes to the reality of it, you're perceived and totally different. Make sure I didn't lose connection here. So one of the 3 known assets that I've recently have taken is the MyersBriggs. That was the one I took most recently. Then everyone knows the DISC assessments that will tell you which color you are based off personalities, how you can mesh with individuals in your department and everything like that. So you hopefully divide the team up to where not so much divide, but also divide and partner with the right person so you have a better culture. Some folks, we use that as a hiring tool to, okay, this personality will go best with this person in accounting because they're more analytical and they're driven by numbers, etc. And then you got the Hogan personality test, which is phenomenal as well. But the best one, in my opinion, Myers absolutely hit everything on the nose for me, which again was an aha moment where I truly scrubbed that data and it allowed me to figure out what do I want to do and how do I develop my brand, because I'm finding out these personal things about me and things that I didn't know got uncovered. And again, the topic is finding your brand. And again, you are your brand, right? So these are crucial things that I definitely urge folks to kind of take to heart and dig super deep and understanding the data behind it and the why as it breaks down why you fall in this category. And then look at that. Do you find areas in your life that you're acting a certain way, or with your friends you're a certain way, but then at the office you're a certain way? And again, how are you showing up? Have you lost some of the good points that are who you are that speak to your brand because of the current conditions, right? I had a guest on my LinkedIn Live. Her name is Dawn Graham, phenomenal individual. She's an executive coach. She works at the School of Wharton. She's a career management director over there. And her book is called Switchers. And I always pretty much promote her in a sense, not that she needs it, but because I had an epiphany when I interviewed her. And one of the things that she talks about is the internal and external locus. So the internal locus is someone who says, if I can change this about me, and if I can change that about me, I can have a better outcome in my situation. I control what goes on. I can make the adjustment. I can make the change to my brand so I can have a better outcome in the market. Right? Those are the folks who focus on the internal locus. The external locus, the folks that rely solely on that, these are the folks who blame all external issues, external conditions as to why they're in the situation they're in. So she said that is key for your job search and your growth, even with your brand development and everything, because it's what you choose to control and how your mindset is fixed. Right. So we definitely urge everyone to focus on the internal locus process. This way you can say, okay, what can I control? What can I change, develop, and get better at? Right. And like I said, family network, get their perspective and see if that lines up. Because once you've taken the assessment or taken a assessment and you've analyzed that data, find out, hey, how do you see me? You know, just ask a candid question. You know, how do you see me? What do you think about me if someone was to bring me up in the conversation, I wasn't in the room? What would you say? Right? Ask colleagues. What would you say? And do that 360, where you go around and ask people, peers, you ask your peers, you ask someone if someone even reported to you or previous employers, and those that you reported to. Get that evaluation, because these are things that you can gather all this data, so it's not left in your brain and you're overthinking it and you feel stuck. It's like, this is how we see, and see what the common theme is. If it's a common theme that you're someone who's a networker, who can bring folks together, who's a collaborator, that's awesome. Right now you start to develop that brand awareness of who you are, and then you figured out what you want to do. You figured out what your passion is and how you then now can apply that to the market and into your personal life. And it must line up. That's the key thing. You want to make sure it lines up with your image, your mission, your values, and your vision. You don't want to go out there and have imposter syndrome, because you see someone doing great things on LinkedIn, or folks in the IG world, the perception looks like they're phenomenal and all this in a bag of chips. In reality, it may not be. So you want to make sure, does it line up with your image, mission, values, and vision? Because you will not sustain that work ethic. You will not sustain that movement, that propel motion going forward to grow your brand if it's not your brand you're even trying to grow, right? Because you have an imposter syndrome. Don't do that. Find out what is true to you. And again, family and friends and network, those are the folks that can give you a completely different perspective, and match it up with an assessment to see if it's right. And then think about what I think of me, what the assessment thinks, and what family in my network, does it all line up? What's the common thing, and how do I build and move forward from there? So depending on what your profession is, you're an HR person, you're marketing, you're IT, your project manager, right? You need to still find out what these things are. Just because you work in a certain field doesn't mean that's your total brand altogether. Now, once you've done all the homework and the data gathering, and this data dump is coming at you left and right, I urge you to plan your brand, right? Write this stuff down. Start crushing out, making those lists of what's right, what doesn't fit, what's true to your value, what's true to who you are, and start condensing that information so you can come out with a clear vision of what your brand looks like, not only to yourself, but to the outside market based on you asking family or friends. right? Before you go out and just post it on LinkedIn, you should know what that is, because you will confuse the market. You will confuse yourself by putting out false stuff. And again, here comes that imposter syndrome. And people are like, oh, I thought you did this. Now you like this. Oh, well, this week you're saying this. And you're confusing everyone. I'm like, I'm not sure. What I thought you were, now you're someone who lacks absolute clarity in your life, because you thought you can just go out and say, okay, this is the next bandwagon. I think that'll help me in my career search, or job search, or move to the next level in my organization. That doesn't work. It has to be a high level, 100% authentic you when it comes to planning your brand and building that brand. Okay, don't just put it out there for the people to view in hopes you get a bunch of likes and connections, and people are asking you to do stuff, and you get this interview, and then it's not who you are. You positioned yourself into something that you never wanted because you portrayed someone you never were. Now, hopefully this is making sense. This is times where I would get a visual cue from folks, but hopefully this is resonating with a few of you. And we all have heard the term, time waits for no man, time waits for no brand. Right? With this current pandemic, the market is super saturated with folks that are looking, regardless of their social economic background, regardless of how degreed they are, him or her, it doesn't matter. The competition is definitely stiff out there. And one of the things my colleagues are saying that who also share a lot of content on LinkedIn is that it is developing your brand is going to be really the separator for a lot of job seekers, right? Because you have to rise above the noise, and you have to take immediate massive action. So we know exactly who you are. Be consistent with building that brand. Now, just a few more slides, and then I think we can open up for questions. Here's where I would say, starting once you develop what your brand is, you have a clear focus and understanding. Here's ways you can start to execute on that plan. Content creation is the #1 thing. This is huge right now, and it's not a fad, because I think a lot of organizations since this pandemic, we either go to what's called a hub and spoke model, where it's 50% of the workforce may be home while the other 50% on site, or maybe 100%, home remote. I think it was Google or Amazon or Apple recently released an article saying they're giving their folks, the corporate folks, the opportunity to work from home until 2021, the summer or spring of 2021. And then I think another one said permanently, and it's optional based on what the manager says. If you need to come in 2-3 days a week, you have a flex schedule to make that work. So these are the 1% companies that are out there, the game changers. These are the ones that are saying, hey, we recognize that we can still function and be very driven, be very productive, and be very lucrative from a revenue standpoint if we switch our model and give our folks this high level of flexibility in their life. So, but what that means is, if you're home, we all done it. You're either spiked yourself watching Netflix or YouTube or something, right? The eyeballs hitting the mobile devices, that data has spiked tremendously. So content creation, and again, being a professional, LinkedIn is #1. You can easily start putting out LinkedIn videos and tips and tools and techniques, or sharing your thoughts on stuff, but you don't have to if you're fearful of that. You can also do it through article writing. Share your thoughts on a certain subject and where your expertise lies. Also commenting on other people's posts, growing your network on LinkedIn. I always urge folks to connect with people at their level or above. I would say you would search 50 and reach out to 50 folks a day to build your network, because the more people you know, right? People say your network determines your net worth, and which is absolutely true. Absolutely do that. Also, create a network group, Zoom. Right? Use that platform. It's free. If you're going to run a 30-minute, group where you guys chat and figure out and network and strategize to figure out how to help folks find work or create something, you just never know. There's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs that are birthed out of this market because of this pandemic, just like it was when the financial crisis hit back in 2008. Right? A lot of folks chose the entrepreneur route, and that's what's happening again now. So if you position yourself as someone who's a leader or a voice in the community, and it doesn't mean you have to have this million level of followers on LinkedIn like you would see on IG and other platforms. But if you're someone who's not afraid to take initiative and try something new, create a network group. It's free on Zoom. If you want to run the meeting longer, it does cost where you can run it for an hour plus. But that's a small investment to start networking and position yourself as someone as a go-to person. And then big thing for me, this is one of my personal mantras, I'm big on collaborating. All right. If you're someone who's not so much willing to be out in the forefront or do speaking engagements like this, partner with someone and say, hey, let's reach out to someone who's more senior in our industry and who can speak to a certain subject utilizing the Zoom platform. And now you got a partner who can help you grow that network as well and learn what's going on in the industry and how to position yourself. But these are phenomenal 3 tips that I see a lot of folks doing that are really, really being vocal out there and separating themselves in the market. And this is one of the number one things too. It really, folks, it's going to take an absolute mind shift for you to change what's happening in the current condition, right? All of us, we've been affected somewhere or another. But I think when I mentioned earlier that internal locus, you have to take ownership of what powers you still have, what talents you still have, what abilities you still have that you can push, grow, develop, and get into the market to help your situation or take yourself to the next level, right? And I always say you have to think like an entity, not as a job seeker. And I misspelled that, and less of a job seeker. Yeah, and less of a job seeker. So what I mean by that is if you think of corporations and businesses, the ones that are successful, they have strategies, right? They know who their avatar is, who their market is. They know how, and they formalize a plan on how to attack that market to get the best return of their investment. They know who to collaborate with, and they've built a brand. So as an individual, we should adopt those same principles and start thinking in that manner as well, right? Because you're just as creative, you're just as powerful, you're just as talented. It's just knowing how to switch your mindset. And I'm not sure who's on the call, but don't switch, don't get stuck into a victim mindset, because if you've been affected by the pandemic, yes, it is no fault of your own. Right? And this is not a Tampa, Hillsborough County thing, it's a worldwide thing. So know that you don't have to take the mindset and the posture of a victim, but more of the victor, right? Be victorious in your thinking and make that shift, because you are sitting on God-given talent that you can explode into the market today. I'm almost done here for questions. And really, it's about adjusting out of focus. Like I said earlier, the more clarity you have, the more comfortable you feel. We can get on to this moment to where we're sitting in a woe is me kind of mindset, and we don't want that to happen. You can gain absolute clarity. It may cause you to shift completely in a new direction, right? And uncover new talents that you never thought. You may be that chef that you always wanted to be, and this is an opportunity for you to do that, right? But you got to know how to shift your brand and start positioning yourself, and you have to take action. You have to take action. Nothing's going to come to you just posting and praying for opportunities, that is not going to work anymore. That those days are far, far gone, right? Very few people are doing that. If you have a network, activate your network. Don't activate it based on desperation and need, because then it's not truly a network thing, right? Your network of folks that you communicate with, good, bad, indifferent, whatever, you're keeping a constant communication open. But now's the time to say, hey, with this going on, here's what I'm experiencing in my life. And one of the things that was so crucial that I heard, and it's one of the best advices that I've heard when it comes to exploring your network and utilizing your network, is that as job seekers, we fail to give our network the language to help us out. So they know I like marketing or recruiting, whatever it is, HR, project management, IT, but they don't know the scale of projects I've worked on. They don't know the scale of budgets I overseen, because I've never shared those details. But the more you share with your network, you're now giving them the language to speak on your behalf, to assist you, sharing what your brand is with the next employer or potential employer. Now, hopefully that makes sense. And this is what I'll end it on for tonight, and leave it open for questions. Like I said earlier, every week I have a LinkedIn live show called Career Talks. If you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, please do so. It's where you can hear the experts that I bring on a weekly basis that may give you that epiphany moment, or you can reach out to them that may help you go a step further in your journey. So I know it's short. Hopefully some of this information resonated. Like I said, I love 30-minute presentations. It's hard when you don't see the face, but I thank, again, the Hillsborough County Library, again, Chris, and all for the opportunity.
That was a fantastic presentation, Orlando. We really appreciate you coming on this evening with us and sharing your knowledge and sharing some of these great points. We do have a couple questions, but really quickly before I get to those, I just want to, lost my slide. Just want to give everybody some information to contact the library. You can call us at the number here on the screen, or you can go online to hcplc.org/contact. You can also find out about future library events and classes at hcplc.org/events. And of course, here once more is Orlando's website, orlandohaynes.com. So go there, check out all the great things he's doing. And like he said, he's also on LinkedIn doing a lot of interesting things as well. Let me go ahead and get to a couple of these questions. We have time for just a couple here. Someone would like to know, can you have a separate personal and professional brand, meaning maybe your passions and interests outside of your career?
Absolutely, absolutely. But I wouldn't say you would have a separate interest, not necessarily a separate brand. Right? It's no different. And again, that's why I mentioned as of an entity. Start thinking in that mindset, because one company, their brand, but they have different products and services. So the same thing, you're this one brand, but you have different interests. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. All right. I know you already talked about this, going back to passions and interests, but are there any other key starting points for anyone who wants to develop their own personal brand?
Yeah, I would definitely, right, if you can't figure it out yourself, there's folks, I do coaching on that myself, and helping folks develop their brand online. Seek someone out who does it as well, because it just may be some questions that we can ask that you're not thinking of, that we can pull out and be like, well, here, this is what it is. But I would also recommend taking assessments, taking any one of those assessments, because it not only gives you kind of key points, but it breaks down as to why this is valuable, and you start to see a little bit more in yourself. So assessments, or connect with me, we can get some coaching going, or seek out someone depending on where you live for additional coaching.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's sometimes folks really have a hard time assessing themselves. So getting help is nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing. Well, that's all the time that we have for this evening. Orlando, big thank you to you. We truly appreciate you coming on with us tonight, and we appreciate everybody who who logged in tonight and attended the program. And I want everyone to have a great evening. Thank you very much. And we'll see you all very soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Good night.